Hello, fabulous humans! How are you guys today? I hope you're well. This is a topic that really interests me, this whole, how old can you be to do things? So, I found it especially interesting because none of you guys are in North America. So I live in Alberta, in Canada, and within Canada, Alberta is like the place where you can do everything at the youngest possible age. For driving, for example, you can get your learner's license when you're 14 years old, which, when you're 14, you're like, yeah, I'm totally ready to drive, but now looking at people when they're 14, it's like, how are you allowed behind a vehicle? What? It usually works out for the best. So to take that, you just write a test, and then you get your learner, then you can take your normal driving license, where you can drive without an adult, when you're 16, or a year after you've taken your learners. So if you wait to do your learners until you're 16, you have to wait until you're 17 to be able to do your driver's test. There's a couple of restrictions on that though. So you have less demerits before you get your license taken away, and you can't have any alcohol on your breath. You also can't drive as the adult with someone who has their learner's license. To do that, you have to get your graduated license, which you can get 2 years after you get your first license. And I think it's actually good that you can do it so early, because, and I'm sure that this is similar to where you guys are, but people go to college oftentimes when they're 17. So if it was 18 and you couldn't drive, I feel like that would be a hindrance, maybe? I don't know. So I was excited to drive because in my town we had zero public transit. So I was excited about that one, but it comes pretty early, I was excited about that 6 years ago. Drinking is the other one, and like you guys, I wasn't really enthused about drinking, I just didn't care. I can count the amount of times I've gone to a bar on one hand, and 2 of those times I've not been to get alcohol. They've been to get maple bacon mini donuts, which are a gift from the heavens. It's 18 in Alberta. It changes from province to province, and even though I wasn't excited about it, per se, I think it's a fine age. I think having to wait until you're 21 is slightly ridiculous, because if you can be trusted to go to a war and fight for your country, I feel like you should be trusted to go have a beer. I don't know. That's my opinion on it. The thing with the legal drinking in Canada is that it isn't a countrywide thing. It changes from province to province. So in Alberta it's 18, but in British Columbia, which is the province right next to us, it's 19. So my friends could legally drink in Alberta, went to university in British Columbia, and all of a sudden couldn't drink anymore. So that strikes me as kind of silly, because you can just drive over the border and then suddenly it's legal, and I don't get it, but whatever. Politics. Speaking of politics, the voting age. In Canada, pretty much everything happens when you're 18, at least in Alberta. You can drink legally, you can buy a lottery ticket, and you can adopt a child, and you can also vote. And out of everything that happens when you turn 18, that was the thing I was most excited for. I used to have election pools instead of hockey pools. Do you guys do hockey pools? Probably not, because hockey is not a thing, but you probably do other sports pools, where you make your fantasy team and then you get points. I did that for the election. I just really care a lot about voting and voter apathy. And so that's why I sometimes think it would be better if people could vote earlier. In Alberta, we let people drive when they're 16. We let people operate a giant hunk of metal that is moving at breakneck speeds amongst a whole bunch of other giant, humongous, heavy bits of metal. So why can we not trust them to, read about what's happening in the government? I don't know. I feel like maybe the voting age should be 16. And I realize that no matter what age you set the voting age at, there are always going to be people younger who really care about it and are passionate about it. But especially looking at the most recent American election and seeing how many of my friends who are younger than me and aren't able to vote in the States, seeing how interested they were and how frustrated they were that they couldn't vote, in my mind, I'm I don't think this is helping voter apathy amongst youth, because if you care about something and you're not allowed to do it, what if you just ignore it? I don't know. The other thing I think is that if you're 16 and you could vote when you're 16, your social studies teachers could introduce you to it, or you're still voting when you're living at home and not out on your own. So then you have someone to show you how to do it and how to go through the process. So then when you leave the nest and you're off on your own, voting isn't something that you have to figure out, it's something that you already know how to do. I'm super passionate about getting youth interested in politics and interested in voting, because it's so important. Setting the voting age at 18 pushes people out of politics instead of trying to bring people in and get them to vote. What do you guys think about the voting age? Do you think that it should be lower? Do you think it's good at 18? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Was Maxine, I thought it was so interesting that it's like weird when a 16-year-old dates, because in North America it's quite the opposite. I just thought that was interesting. So, yeah. Bye. I will see you guys in October.